When women's voices are not just heard, but invited into a conversation, questions change, impacts change, because women fundamentally think differently, and that's a good thing.
The gender balance at COPs seems to be fairly even. But when you go into the delegates' rooms, 2/3 of the delegates are men. 3/4 of the delegates who lead the delegations are men. It's too much of a monoculture at the moment, the way these texts are negotiated.
Indigenous people has proven with scientific data that they are protecting the forest better than anybody. So we have to acknowledge that. When we are saying they are defending their territory, and that's why they are putting their lives on the line, it's because they understand the territory as the space for their culture, the space where they can speak their language, the space that provides food, health, a space that provides the livelihood.
The problem is we live in this fragmented finance landscape, fragmented support landscape that has private sector, that has finance, that has philanthropy, and none of them are working together because everybody wants to own a solution. But nobody can own these solutions singly. We need to own these solutions collectively.
How do we bring accountability to this space? We have these great solutions, but how do we know they're working the way they're supposed to work?
Accountability starts at home. And it's really hard and really uncomfortable, but it's the thing that changes, it moves the needle for organizations like mine, for countries, for businesses.
So until consumers stop buying the thing, until they stop asking for that thing that we know is bad and putting their money in their wallet there, a company is not going to be motivated to stop doing that thing.
How are we going to hold you, central banks, accountable to bringing more women into the system? To tailor those strategies specifically to the things that are really pain points for women. Just having a bank account is not financial inclusion.
The only thing is making the state accountable. For example, regarding the oil industry, we want to know how many oil companies have been sanctioned by the government. Spoiler alert, not so many much.
Social audit was, so many years ago, the World Bank would go around and announce projects and they'd put up a giant billboard in the community. Hospital will be built here, or school will be built here. And you'd go back 3 years later and there was no school built there. They gathered together and they sat there and documented what had or had not happened in that community.
Pandemic, science and solidarity. And he said, we have the science. We need the solidarity. And
human beings must decide they own the climate problem and that they are prepared to mobilize collectively and fight to protect the place that they live and the way of life that they have.
Because when people said, oh no, it's not the indigenous people, they don't like investments, they are against progress. Why? That's not true. As they have illegal minings, oil spills, environmental liabilities.
When you are trying to make a decision about what to support, how to invest, where to put your support, insist on an intersectional approach. If an approach doesn't consider both finance and health, or climate and education, or water and sanitation and finance, you have to embrace the intersectionality of this crisis.
I love this notion of resilience, not just being bouncing back, but really helping bounce forward.
Told us they don't want to be portrayed only as victims. They are suffering, of course. Some of them are dying, but they are also resisting. They are playing an active role, and we have to find a way to acknowledge that role and put their circumstances in context.
Women in communities, women who back grassroots organizations, women who are leading change on the front line, are themselves adapting constantly to the power dynamics around them, to the levers of change that they see in front of them, and they adapt their behavior and the way they approach with a really smart way to move things.